Dear friends, here we go again with another SDK tutorial, a scenery tutorial, brand tutorial. First of all, welcome to all the new subscribers and a special greeting to my friend Randall. And Randall, thank you for this guy. I'm really happy with that. Great time. So today we're gonna talk about fences. Sooner or later, when you get an airport, you will face with the problem of the fence. The fence goes around all the airport and you have to place them manually. And it's a really boring thing. And usually to place fences, you go to the objects, you search for the fence you like, and maybe enable one-click placing so you can see the fence. Okay, you want maybe this time of fence, and you disable one-click placing, reset. This is the little one, and go back to the scenery editor and start moving in the right position. And maybe you want a bigger one because we need a lot of copy of this. So you go to fence underscore dwelling. I want the green high. Maybe this. Yes. And they made something like 1 meter, 3 meter, and 9 meter objects for all the fences, and they are nice because you can copy them all over and pick it and duplicate and place it, and maybe if you need to do a straight line, you can duplicate that and maybe rotate it and duplicate again, and maybe you can take both and duplicate so you have 4 of them. Most likely rotate it. So you can box select and duplicate. Doing it fast, but it's really boring and could be a very long work because you have to go all around the airport. So this is the method we are all using, and it's boring. It's boring. So there is another way of doing it, and let's do that directly in Blender. And we are back in Blender. So the whole idea is to trace the outline of the fence, the perimeter of the fence directly on a satellite map. And to do that, you need an add-on for Blender, which is called Blender GIS. You can install it in the usual way by clicking on Edit, Preferences, and Add-ons, Install Add-ons, select your zip file, restart Blender, and you have your Blender GIS ready. So let's go with that and go to GIS, Web Geodata, and click on the base map. We will use the Google base map and we click OK. So as you can see, we have now the world map. We can zoom in the world map, and we can, of course, go to our airport, and we can press G and write Leniago. The zoom level should be higher. Leniago, maybe a zoom level of 16, it's okay. Okay, now we are in the city center of Leniago, and we can pan with the usual command. So middle mouse button and pan straight in our airport. So once you have located your airport area, you can press the L key on your keyboard and scroll the zoom wheel mouse to zoom in. And as you can see, now we are at zoom 18. It's doing things, build the mosaic. It's not visible, but in the background, more tiles are being loaded. Okay, once done, you can press the E key, and this will give you an image, an outline of your airport, where you can zoom, pan, drag, rotate, everything you want, like you do in Blender. Okay, there's an important thing you have to do now, and is to scale your image to the right scale, because this is not the right scale because of the web Mercator projection. And to do that, you have to go to Google Earth with the ruler, pick a measurement of 2 known points. So I will be using the runway starts as known points, and we have a runway length of 898 meters. This is the real length of the runway, but if we measure that in Blender, you can see that it's larger, 1,274 meters. So with our calculator, we can calculate 898 divided by, and we have a proportion of 70%, 70.48%. So we can go back in Blender, select the image and scale by 0.74. I'm typing on my keyboard. And then our runway is the right length, 898 meters. Okay, we are ready to start. So let's go where we want to start to outline our fence and place our 3D cursor there. Go to with Shift A, we add a plane in this place, edit mode, and to merge the vertex at center. So we have only one vertex. Now we can start extruding the vertex with the E key and moving the mouse and click where we want to place the vertex. And E to extrude, and E to extrude. You can of course make G to grab, E to extrude. Of course I know where the fence goes because I have my reference images. And once I'm done, I can hide the satellite image. So go back to selection mode, press H to hide the satellite imagery, and click on our plane, which will be our fence line. Clicking right click, convert to curve. So the goal here is to make a basic object, our net, our fence object, and copy it all over along this new curve, this new path. So let's hide the reference because we don't need this. And let's move to the perspective, and let's move to the cursor to the word origin. So Shift S cursor to word origin, and that a mesh and as a plane because our plane is our basic net object. So this is our plane. Rotate it x 90 degrees around the x axis and GZ to make it above the ground, a little bit below, maybe a little bit below the ground. Make it a little bit more higher, and GY, GX could be okay. So this is a plane. We need a pole, and I'm gonna add another face. So EX, and the face will be 0.1. Yeah, 10 centimeters could do the trick. We have a big object in our scene, and to make sure we are working on a small object, click View, Frame Selected, and Perspective. Okay. So I'm gonna extrude this by 0.05 centimeter. It's okay. Yes. And back to the vertex mode, we can see, well, let's stay in face mode. We can see that now we have a face here, a new face here created by our extrude, a face here, and a face on the top. But in the back, we have no face to extrude. So we should create one by going to vertex mode and select those 4 faces and press F to fill or to face. And now we can extrude also this face in the Y direction. So extrude Y 0.05, and now we have our pole done. We can also extrude this by 0.1 0.15 centimeter maybe, and scale it because we want it to be pointy. And to reduce the number of vertex, we can select those vertices and merge at center. So let's do some materials for this baby so we can see what is going on. So we can do a material for the pole and a new material for the net. It's called mesh, I think it's called mesh. Yeah. So for the pole, I'm gonna go green. Let's switch to the viewport shading so we can see everything, and we can select the face for the mesh and assign it to its material. So the pole is green, and for the mesh material, I'm gonna create an MFS standard material, and in the albedo texture, there we go. This is this one. Okay, we can see that, but we can see in this direction. So important, we have a plane here. A plane has only one face, and this is the reason because we have the texture on one side and no texture on the other side. But how we can know where the texture is will be shown, on what side of the plane the texture will be shown? We should go to the viewport overlays and click here, display normals. So what is a normal? In normal is the direction where a face is pointed at, and this face is pointed in this direction. We can increase it size a little bit more so you can see. Okay, it's pointing in this direction. In this direction there is nothing. You can see there is nothing. And the same of course goes for all our faces. And if you have a face pointed in the wrong direction, look here we can see this face, and in the simulator we will see through this this image. So I'm gonna okay. Now, how to solve the problem? We can do it in two ways. One is duplicate this face and flip it. So Shift D to duplicate the face. So we have our face that now is coplanar with the other, with the one coplanar face, and rotate on the z-axis by 180 degrees. As you can see, now we have one face is pointing in the left direction, one face pointing in the right direction, and offset it in the y-axis by a little bit. So we have the faces that are not coplanar and are facing in opposite direction. This could be a solution, but we have a more elegant solution for this. So let's undo that. Okay, and is in the MFS properties material we have double-sided, and for this material the sim knows that it should draw the image on both sides. Wrap and go to the UV editing and GY, so it's all over the image. Of course we should scale it. Okay, and now we have our square. So this image is not transparent, and we can see that by adding a cube, whatever mesh we want, and GY, and we can see the cube, no? But we should make this transparent. So in the material properties, MFS material, we should make the blender mode, settings blender mode, alpha blend, and now is blending, and also the alpha mode to blend in the render parameters. So this image has an alpha channel, where the alpha channel is transparent, also the image goes transparent, and hide the path because we are halfway in our journey. So we have to add we have to add a plane here, and we're gonna use this plane as a dummy for instancing this mesh object to the curve. So I will call this plane dummy, and this dummy, we will add a modifier, an array modifier, and what an array does is copy all over our object in various directions, however we want. And now we can set the fit type to fit curve and select our curve. And now we have a lot of planes because there are a lot of objects. And should be a constant offset with the length of our object, of our fence. And now we should put this along this curve so we can add another modifier, a curve modifier. And now we should select as a curve object our reference. And now you can see that the dummy is copied all over our path without distortion. We have to do a strange thing now. We have to parent this dummy to the mesh object. So let's select the mesh object first and control and select the dummy after. Control P to parent and parent it to object. Mesh is gone into the dummy, as you can see, because now it's parented to the dummy. And now we should go to the object properties on the instancing and select faces. And so we can zoom in. It's now duplicated along all the perimeter. To see it in the simulator, we need to do another operation with our dummy object, which is the speak object, and by pressing Ctrl A, we should make instances real. This will create so much objects that we can join. Yes, all, right click and join, and now we have a single mesh with all our. We have to shape this a little bit. So by clicking G, GY, and GX. And now we fixed everything, and all our fence is done. Takes a bit of time to get used to this method, but is very useful. And now to export it, same way as we have always done, and file. So let's save a Blender file, tutorial. Save the Blender file and export this selected object. So file, export, extend in GTLS and /texture. Remember export settings. Generate our XML file, .xml, and the GUID, and include this selected object, so only this one, and select our apply modifier and export it. And Windows has an internal viewer to view glTF, so we can use 3D visualizer, which is internal in Windows 10. And now we can zoom in and see our object, which is pretty nice. I'm using another type of visualizer. It's called a CAD Assistant, and this is pretty nice too. Okay, so now we are done, and let's go back in the simulator and place our fence. So back in the simulator, I did load up our project and now build all to build our new 3D objects. 29 dying, 0 failed. And now we are okay, so view inspector, loading editor. Go into the scenery editor and wait for loading and zoom to our main hangar. So let's search among our object, press all, remember, and LIDO, fence tutorial, and add. Okay, so as a reference, I've placed a cube in this place, and as we can see, we have maybe we have some scaling problem. Could be. Oh, we're gonna fix them. No problems. So let's see if this baby is in the wrong place. Yeah, it's underground. It's underground. So we can do this. With the sim open in GZ, I don't need the big cube anymore. So I'm gonna delete this. And now we can export. So let's open the console, clear everything. And now we can export this in digital wave. File, export, extend in GTLS, fence tutorial, export. So back in the simulator, we can see that there is something going on. It's try to load our scenery, but there is a problem with the texture because you can't reload automatically an object, a modifier object from Blender directly in the simulator if it has textures. You can do that before Sim Update 5, but they took away this ability, and let's hope they put again this ability into the simulator because it was very handy, but there is a workaround. And so let's do this. Go back in our folder and right click, open with Notepad and file save without any changes. So back in the simulator, now is building, our object is gone, and now we can see that the fence is in another place all around the airport and the right place without too much hassles. So I hope you enjoy this method to create fences. It's very handy. It's very handy to create a long line of objects. And see you next time. Bye bye. Bye bye, Randolph.